Good morning, traders. This is Alex with the Matrix program. It is April 16th at about 5:30 in the morning. Markets have some action, and I wanted to review. I did a video last week showing some important stuff, but I forgot the main reason why I was doing the video, and that was to look back at the annular, which again we're kind of just gone through for a lot of the charts, and that was at April 7th ish time zone last year, which was a massive low, not only in the commodities, silver, gold, crude oil, but also the stock market. And I'm going to review my stock matrix charts, which again that was a program I did for a year. You can go back and search for stock matrix. I mean, I did a whole series for a whole year, probably hundreds of videos, kind of going through how to chart it and how to kind of basically create the system and how to use options, right? It was an option program, but I kept the charts up obviously because I had 2 years worth of work, right? So, and that's the charts we're going to use. This is my X account. CBOT man 33 is my handle, and I'll hopefully post this link to this video on here for future reference. So let's go to the stock matrix program. Um, Very interesting, right? Now again, this is the area of last year. This was that April 7th ish. Now again, I chart this matrix based on quarter moons and the square of 9. So you can see that this area was pretty big. We do have a secondary event a couple quarter moons from now, right? Two boxes over. So we had a big push. This is kind of the cardinal cross area and the time zone, which was right on this low. The eclipses were kind of making higher solar eclipse closes, so that on a biannual kind of basis, the trend is up. We had this nice little trappish low, which I love. Taking out stuff, that's the ones you want to kind of always perk up if you're a buyer only, especially, right? Now, if you're a seller only, you kind of wait for the other end of the spectrum, new highs somewhere. And if you're a fundamental guy in particular and you're bullish, NVIDIA, this pattern is not bearish in my opinion. This is your break. That's all the break you got. Now you look at some of these other charts as we scroll through them and you go, that's a break. So in my rough mind, this is not a real big break, more of a time break, right? Those are the ones you buy or sell if depending on the direction of the trend. But obviously, since we've had 3 solar eclipse closes, those are the ones you want to buy. Just my opinion. Now, do you buy strength? Maybe NVIDIA just didn't have a break enough. So the guys who are short and sold are feeling pretty sick. Here's Meta. Again, these are the select stocks. You can see them down here. I got Cintas, Coin, JP Morgan, so on and so forth. So if I don't mention this, I'll try to, I guess I'll mention it. But here's Meta. You can see that on the same scale, it's a 1-to-1, right? But it's the same scale as NVIDIA, but you can see that it is moving a lot more. But you can see this was an obvious one. We had an April 7th low, but a secondary event, which kind of challenged the low 2 boxes over. So again, here we are. We came in a little early. So again, 2 boxes we'll give it, and that's somewhere in here. So obviously it could be the low's already in, or it could be high, right? And it just so happens from this important low, that squaring out of that range, right, also comes in here. Now this is from the low. I won't go back and show it to you, but it was a pretty important low and major low. And this squared out the range here as well, up to the highs, which was the low here. So again, if I don't mention some of that stuff, that's what you'll see in the chart, and also the degrees over from these in particular different highs. So 90 degrees over, missed this low by a tick. This missed this high by a tick. We're currently 225, missed that by a tick. So again, you can see the importance of these. Again, not really. It ain't a trading system. Gann only used a 2-day trend line indicator for his charts and how to get in and get out. So, but he used the squares, the master chart stuff. All that stuff was to where to start looking. Now I go a little simpler. I'm an eclipse guy, and Gann was too. But yeah, so that's kind of my forte is the squaring of the range. Levels. And I like to trade options, so I like to find those acceleration points. Where's it going to accelerate? And that's where you make your most money in the options, because I don't want to go way out, a month out or 12 months out, right? I want to be 3 months at the most, because I'm basing everything on a time period. So I could go out weekly if I have to. Here's Coke. Again, you can see Coke was kind of one of those that was opposite of the stock market. The S&P and the NASDAQ and stuff, it was kind of a safety play. There's several here that I had on my matrix list, the select stocks. So again, the big annual for Coke will be coming up in the 1st of October, end of September. So maybe September 21st. So we'll say You know, that September 23rd is the equinox, right? So we'll kind of assume that that area will be the more important for the stocks. Now, it did make a high in the lunar, so another interesting tidbit. The next lunar is August, so kind of close to our September, right? Within a few periods. So again, something to keep track of. Now let's move on. I don't want to hem-haw around. Ah, dang it. Now Google's a big dog. This one really took off. It had a smash though, right? So this level came in on April 7th ish, but you can see the secondary event goes all the way out to the middle of May, May 12th. That's, you know, I don't know, looks like I have to get a daily chart out. So this window of time, I don't know, 5 boxes. So here we are coming into the same annular, and you know it made a low, maybe a smidge early, 1 box early. So we'll go 5 over, and so yeah, April 24th ish. You know, again, it already broke the trend. We've had higher solar eclipse closes, kind of offered a buying level, right? So you can see that, I don't know, it definitely, you know, if it's an AI trade again, that kind of sets up. So I don't know. I guess I'm kind of friendly, but you know, up here, not so much. You can see we're on the one-to-one. I'm not a big fan of buying strength on these slap joy trades. Here is Microsoft, another wild son buck. I really need to change the speed to maybe a 2 or 4x1. But this was the low, right? There was the sequence, and it came all the way out to, again, the end of April. So basically 2 boxes, so April 7th-ish. So yeah, three boxes total. And this low came in right on the hunt. You can see it was 360 degrees into this low. So perfect score. Again, we mentioned it back here to be watching for this. Squaring out of the range will be, I don't have it updated here. Let me go down. Be down here, right? So on the 45 degree. So that would be, that's quite a long time away. Now we haven't broken the pivot yet. So that's your, if you're a swing trader, right? That's a goal you got to have. Here's the solar eclipse close, which will offer support. You know, if it drops back and you're wanting to buy a spot. So yeah, and we are right now we are 180 degrees, which is half the time from this high. Comes in April 24th. So in our window of 5 boxes, right? So I don't know, but again, it worked, right? So just for future reference, these annuals, especially when you get big ones like this, are just so easy to keep track of and important. Here's Amazon, similar situation, that April 7th, and again, a couple boxes over as a continuation. And this one came in, a secondary event came in 1 week or 1 moon period early. So again, there's our 3 boxes. So again, either somewhere in here could be an important event. Maybe it'll be a high, right? Again, we don't know, don't care, right? Shouldn't care if it's a high or low. You're in the kind of the cardinal cross area from the low. I don't have it drawn out, but this is the cardinal cross area. So, you know, this zone is pretty key as a support area, right? So, but the main emphasis here is this. You can see this transaction that was massive, kind of equal here, a little longer the window, but it was an annular. So let's look at Apple. Again, this was a thumper, right in April 7th. You know, the break wasn't as substantial as some of those others, but it still was pretty good, 26%, I believe. Then it rallied up. The highs came in early, and we have not taken those out. Again, I kind of think Apple's more of a safety play too. You know, again, it seems to me, now again, maybe it'll take control and lead the whole market, but it seems, now again, we squared out the ranges, and you can see it did work. Oh, dang it, sorry. It did square out this range, which was a secondary event, so 90 degrees over will be pretty key. Of course, we had some annulars that you can see, these 360s, those are previous annulars. So again, everything's kosher. The April 7th zone was a low, or, you know, again, potential high, right? We don't know yet, but it's on the eclipse right now, on the one-to-one. And again, if you draw a parallel, right, it hasn't quite got to it yet. So this triangle, the ascending triangle, if you're a technical guy, is pretty key to observe. Now, again, you can't assume it's a bull, you know, unless you're adding some fundamentals or something to the technical mix. I can't assume anything, right? I'm assuming it's sideways until proven otherwise. But if you're an option guy and picking bottoms with options, it definitely gave you an opportunity to do so. Here's Tesla, one of the more volatile ones. And again, you can see this broad low came in, and that is 7 boxes. So this event came in actually in March and ended in April 27th. So these 7-box windows pretty key. Again, if this low was correct, which again was in the 7-box window, definitely could see some type of low in here into the middle of May. Again, if you're a bear of Tesla, we got 2 solar eclipses that were, this one was lower than this previous solar eclipse close. So again, if you're bearish Tesla, you'd be selling it up here. We got the 1-to-1 trend line right here, and the cardinal cross if you want to get it above all that crap, and where people may be getting their stops wrong. This would be a good area as well. So, I think you'd want to sell it up here a little above all this stuff. You want it to assume that it's running a few stops. It's in the zone, right? So somewhere up here, I'd pick the higher zone if you're going to top pick Tesla. Here's Lynn, again, a safety play, and here is this low that occurred, really weird. It came in on April 7th, I believe, maybe April 6th, if my memory serves, but we did make a lower low. So this low is actually going to be more important next year, or this year, November, December 11th. So, in my opinion, and so this is more of a newer market. I believe it's a hydrogen play. That's what I remember. So, making new highs, aggressively slucked everyone out. Now, I would have a hard time buying this highs since we went down and made new lows, kind of the bear trap, bull trap. For every action is equal but opposite reaction. It really doesn't need to go up from here. I would buy a big dip if you're a buyer of Lynn, unless, again, you're a fundamental person and know something that makes sense to be a super bull in there, because the trend is up. Now here's ED, again, another safety play. I had like 3 or 4 in the stock matrix program. Just so happened those safety plays like this were making highs in April when Meta and Google and all those are getting absolutely crushed in April of last year. So these safety plays definitely worked. Minor correction, right? I mean, it's pretty severe initially and then just kind of dogged out. And then once it broke trend and swings, it went back up and actually made another new high. So I find that a little fascinating. So again, if you're bullish, the stock market, as an example, you could buy puts in ED to kind of play that as an opposite effect, kind of like it was here. Now, if you're a bull. Now, if you're a bear of the stock market, you wouldn't want to do that. Here's Adobe, the bear of the bears. You can see that this thing has just been a downtrend forever, actually since 2021. It's a big company at high prices. Stock, it's dropped 75% or more, maybe 80% down to these levels. One that looks like it's going toast, in my opinion, but I won't mention this too much because, again, here's your April zone. It was a low, and we only went up 2-3 weeks. That was it, and then down she went again. So definitely a bear trend. Sell rallies. You can see we had a little pop here, sell it. Had a little pop here, sell it. Now that's the trend. Until proven otherwise, you stay out of Adobe if you're a buyer only. Here is IBM. I think this is a cheater market, and Prickers. I mean, I didn't personally trade it, but wow, them guys, these sling stuff around in this world of AI. Supposedly IBM has a smart AI. The AI sucks. They don't know how to trade. I mean, they don't know the data. I mean, Christmas sale. I mean, what, the AI is just, I think the AI is created to cause chaos because this chart is just stupid. Anyway, yeah, let's get back to the point. This was the low. Again, April 7th was the low, so it looks like it had a 2-box area. Now this low came in February. We did make a low, though, in the zone. Here's the 2-box method going out. Now, again, we are lower on the solar eclipse, so if you're a bear of IBM, this is obviously a good selling window somewhere in here. I think if you're a day trader, I think IBM would be pretty good, but because you're out by the close, right? A true day trader. Because again, it's so weird trading. It just don't make sense to me in these day and age of a smart AI. Okay, here's the other safety play. This was BK, and again, it made actually a low in the same zone. I guess this wasn't the safety play, but it made the low in April, and we're making a high in here. So be a little cautious on BK. I'm not saying it couldn't have made a low a month early. It's one of those that I would buy if you're going to be a buyer only of Bank of Magellan. I would buy a dip. A good dip where you can have manage your risk a little better. Let's go to Procter & Gamble again. Kind of another safety play. Its high actually came in before, but it was kind of up higher, right? Stayed up there for a while into that April time frame, and then trended all the way down to here. Of course, the new administration came in, and the food dyes and poisoning food and all that crap. I think hurt Procter & Gamble a little bit. So this pivot right here, right, this window pivot is pretty interesting to me. This pattern, I like this pivot. So it was a little out of the money play. Again, we're made the low, right in the zone. But again, January is more important to me. But this pivot, just by looking at it, this right here, that's your pivot. So that you can, if that ever takes that out, and this is a secondary event, it can make a new low, even doesn't matter. If it takes that out, and this is the pivot, oh, that's a pretty big bull. I mean, I think you can almost buy out of the money options, maybe use leaps and go out of ways, but go 170 and just buy a new swing high as an out of the money quantity over quality kind of play, right? And that's, I mean, I think that's a cool idea. I don't know if it'll work, right? But we are making even higher solar eclipse close, so definitely could buy this dip. Maybe buy new strength here. The system would have stops in right there, so yeah. I mean, this is another. If you want to wait and confirm it, then you do it. Wait to hear. Again, the options shouldn't change much. And Procter Gamble does trade a little slow, so it shouldn't run away with you. JPM, the diamond. This is squaring out of the range from the low, which was way back there. I don't want to take your time and prove that, but this dark line, right, which kind of proved out this secondary event. Um, and it broke pretty hard. I think 20-30% break. We did make a lower solar eclipse close, which is concerning if you're a bull. Everybody goes, "Oh, J.P. Morgan's going toast or short silver." Well, it doesn't look like it. Silver's been going up a while, so it doesn't look like they're toast yet. But you can see the parallel channel that these one-to-ones have created. And this one is from the April low. Let me go to it. I don't know why I can't see it. Yeah, there's the April low, and this was April 7th-ish, I believe. So, not much of a secondary event. So, and then this low came in on March. The secondary low came in on April 7th, or no, actually a week before. So this makes sense that this could be a low. The parallel channel. I definitely don't like the lower solar eclipse close. If you're a buyer only of JP Morgan, I would buy a dip for sure. Um, um, I can't buy strength when I see this solar eclipse close. Now, if you're a seller, JP Morgan kind of already met the objectives, right? The two solar eclipses. Now, again, if you're wanting a little bigger pop, something where you can risk over the highs, this cardinal cross area, can't get it in there, right here. This cardinal cross area, which is 326-ish, that zone would be a good area as well. And I can see these squaring out of the ranges, was the low, 90 degrees over, was within a period of the high that we just made, or a period over from the secondary event. So pretty key. JP Morgan, if you're a trader of it and you go both sides, definitely be trading it, because right now you can't prove that it's a low, it's a high, nothing. So you keep on both sides until it starts moving in a direction. Here's Coinbase. I use Coinbase in my stock matrix program as the test, because I tried to find something with Bitcoin options, right? And unless you open up a different account through some weird off-country deal, too complicated, right? Coinbase kind of follows, it misses, the highs and lows price-wise, but time-wise it does work. So anyway, you can see this is the April 7th low. It did rally up, had a pretty big aggressive high after that, and then it's gone to crap ever since. And we are made an aggressive lower secondary low, or solar eclipse close, right? So here's the one up here and right here. Now we're into the cardinal cross area onto these eclipses, so this low makes sense a little bit. You can see that the one-to-one coming up hit it. So again, we're in this kind of triangular formation, similar as this one, maybe even similar as this one, right? So these triangular events, you don't know if it's a high or low yet, but basis Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin dropped 52% down to its low. I don't know what the Coinbase did, but same kind of situation, right? It just acts a little poochy. All right, I'm gonna close out the stock matrix, and then I'm gonna go to the commodity matrix. Hang with me. Again, the whole point of looking back at all those is to prove how important those big annulars are, and you can see the importance of it, right? Now, it doesn't have to be the absolute low, it doesn't have to be an absolute high. It could be a gap, it could be an outside event, it could be a big bar in the chart with a lot of volume, right? And you'll see over time that those annulars are, especially the big ones like that one. I mean, it was an obvious low throughout the complex. Now, here's the commodity matrix, and again, I've been putting this out now. I'll do this for a year as well. Similar situation, trade it the exact same way. We did have a new trade on silver the other day as it started pushing through the resistance, but Jesus, 23% risk to the stop, 22 on orange juice. All these ones that are, it's just, you've got, if you can use options, do it, because or some stock market equivalent, right? Because again, right now the futures and margins are quite high. I did just look up The gold margins, there were 36,000. Crude jumped almost double to 12,000, obviously, because it's moving that in one day. So commodities are a little volatile. So let's go and review these real quick. I won't take up too much of your time. Kind of a similar situation. I don't mention it. Here's the previous solar eclipse. Here's the current solar eclipse. These yellow right here, right? These yellow ones, and the April zone that we're kind of going back to. I guess I don't have it on these. Well, I won't tell you about it again because some of these charts I didn't go back that far. This is relatively new. Here's the beans. You can see it's still long. Hasn't got stopped out. Wheat did get short. The last week, or last moon period. So here's the squaring out of the range. Here's the meal. Again, still long. Meal margins actually, when I looked at the margins, were like $1,700. I mean, if you're gonna be bullish, the beans, the meal is where to go. You get more bang for your buck because the beans will not go up huge unless the meal goes up. Now, I know a lot of people think bean oil, it just doesn't work that way. Here's coffee, kind of in a downtrender. We're on the high side of the swing. We're still long, have not got stopped out. Here's cotton, the one that I liked way back here and I talked about. It did break finally, and I talked about this as resistance, and it powered through it like it wasn't even there. So again, which was the parallel of the swing, 1-to-1. So that's a case that tells me something, right? It tells me that we're a little undervalued. Now, of course, we're not closed for this moon period, but I think that tells you you're undervalued. So you buy every minor break. Now, if it doesn't get some weird outside event here, but once we get through this period, that tells me you buy minor breaks. You're not going to get any strong. You might go down, down the road, like moon period or something. You might get here and just take out one, right? There's like one box here as an example. Here's sugar, like this market, but again, typically, here's your pivot, right? And it's breaking all the way back, taking everything out, which again, here's your square of the range. So it's kind of went through that by one box. So still in the zone. I wouldn't want to be short sugar down here. And it maybe makes sense to, again, if this is your pivot, holy cow buckets, you'll be kind of, you do the math on secondary advance, that's up there a ways. So, this I believe was a 19% move up. So anyway, times 5, right? So you could double your value down here just by breaking the swing. And as fast as it's moving, it's telling you to stand up, take notice. Again, we're squaring out the range. So I kind of like out of the money options even, right? You can trade those a year or more out into the future if you want. But I like the out of the money calls somewhere up here, or buy futures with stops, or buy puts against them right here. Here's orange juice. Almost too hard to trade, but unless you got a lot of coin. Trading the spot chart. We are squaring out the range right here. We did get long. Stops are down here. Again, unproven yet. Now squaring out the range definitely. Oops. Definitely hit that bar, which was a low. And so far, it looks like it could work the other way. Here's crude. Again, I'm trading July, not the spot, so I'm not in the true volatility. We're long from back here. Our stop is still a pretty freaking high risk, in my opinion. In these periods where you really get up there and you know that your stop, back in here was down here, and that's when you buy some puts. Volatility gets too crazy. I mean, volatility to my stop's 33% plus. So, it's 33 positive, not negative, right? Because I'm ahead of the game. But holy smokes, Batman. I mean, this thing, you can see we're pinching into this pattern. It's getting tighter and tighter, kind of coagulating right into this zone. So this squares out this range. So unknown. I have a hard time being a buyer of crude when you see that. Silver did it, gold did it, copper did it. They all had these huge bars, and they stay within that pattern for a long time. Again, the acceleration was back in here, not up here. Now, unless you're a fundamental person and fundamentals, like you can predict that it's going to 130 or something crazy, well then, okay, fine. You buy a dip against there and you risk here, right? Or down here, or you buy it in here with some puts or something. Here's nat gas, one of the ugly sticks, similar to crude, but it fell apart, and now it's back to the low, all the way down. So again, I assume since we had a trap here, we're going to have a trap here. I would, if you're a bull only and you buy only, I'd buy a new low or calls, right? Once it makes a new low. Let me see. Here's the E-mini S&P back to its highs. Again, the Trump effect is in full bloom, and system got long here. So right on the cardinal cross was low. April 7th was your zone. And it was 1 week ahead of it, so it could be 1 week behind, could be high, right? So I'm kind of, we did trap it out, so be a little careful being a seller. If you're a bear, right, you want to sell it probably up in here somewhere, just because we know that it took out lows. Here's the euro. Again, I trade this because it's opposite of the dollar. It has more volume. Did have a trap? Had a trap. So we don't need to have traps anymore. That's all good, but this looks, again, just like the sugar. If that's your pivot up there, and this is the range, man, that means you buy out of the money calls more than likely here. Keep it cheap, buy quantity over quality. More, again, because they don't cost much, right? You can do quantity over quality. But that tells me that the dollar is set up. If this is true, and my thought process is a lot higher, I think you got to assume that the dollar is going to get absolutely crushed. Here's gold. Now, again, this was a one-to-one squaring out right in here, this last moon period. It is still short, so the spread between gold and silver kind of narrowed. Gold, everybody's looking at that going, well, I got to buy the gold, buy the silver because gold is way too high. Well, I don't know. Historically, that's how it gets when it gets crazy. The only time you make money back in the spread when it gets hammered, right? Silver got absolutely blitzed and gold went back up, so or didn't break as fast, right? But again, kind of an event, right? This was 1 week, 2 weeks, we'll have to say, prior to the last year's annual. But this now is something to look forward to, this February event, and it came in around the end of the month. Um, so be careful of all these end of the month trades if it doesn't take it out right anytime soon. Um, we did break swings. Logically it could be over. Again, if you're basing your metal trading because we're out of gold, we're out of silver, it's got to go up. And no, that's the opposite. If you've studied all bull markets, the most bullish news is at the highs. It's not at the lows, right? I mean, uh, I can go back and prove every bull market out. It was the most bullish at the highs. Orange juice. All the trees are dying. Dropped 87% this year and last year. Trees died. That's how it was. The most bullish market in history was orange juice. Lumber did the same freaking thing back in 2021. So these events, if we're out, it's over. Now, it doesn't mean we can't go out and have a trap, right? But I'm just saying the highs are, yeah. Now, maybe we got a lot more supply out there than we think. Then this could be just a leg down, and we'll have some final blast off, down the road. But I'm out. Who's going to trade gold? I mean, how you going to? You got 36 grand to trade a futures? Okay, I'm going to go buy 1 ounce. Well, who gives a rip? I mean, this is a futures contract. It's like silver back in my day. I mean, you could take delivery of a 5,000 ounce bar of silver. It's absolutely nothing, no big deal. But now it's like, holy shit. Of course, Bitcoin was the same way, right? Back in the day, you could get Bitcoin for nothing. But again, we're like orange juice, right? We had, well, it doesn't show it, but this break was massive. Well, I'm going to pull it up because it's important. Bar chart. Let's go to orange juice. Let's go to spot. You always think it's got to be fast. Freaking, I didn't update it. Flip charts. Let's go coffee. Let's go orange juice. Let's go spot nearby. The most bullish market ever in the history of mankind. Now, you can go back and look, right? This was a little trap area. It had a big correction. Right now, everybody probably thought it was over there too. But, if you're a swing guy, you'd have been out and maybe long. Maybe you wouldn't have been long, but you definitely wouldn't have been selling it anymore, right? But then it had its final push up here 10 times, tenfold. And then kaboom, 62% down to here, which was, important. 76% down to there, right? So again, the most bullish, the trees were dying right here. And then, less supply here, but the market didn't care, right? It was over. Same thing's going to happen with silver, gold, and that kind of stuff. If we're truly out, or it's all tied up and basically out, right? No one can get any. Then, again, you got to remember about silver. It's a byproduct. So copper is the most important chart when you're trading silver. Again, I don't want to get too far into that, but 235-day break from high to low. Now, from the high to the first low, which was 62%, was 73 days. And it was the most bullish through that whole period, right? That's how they get you. I mean, it's a classic, soybeans. If you're a soybean trader, you know how it is. It's a desert. We haven't got any rain. Market gone up huge. China's buying all it up, and then all of a sudden it's over. Well, nothing's changed. We have no supply. Which again, when you have no supply of soybeans, all the data all of a sudden looks bearish, right? We had less exports this week. Well, of course you're out, right? But the market don't care, right? It's all a setup, and you got to learn from those past bulls. And this is a classic. It just happened. We just had the low. Now it could go lower, right? I mean, again, you go back to history. I'm squishing it down pretty good here, but you can see that we've been several lows down in here, right? So again, I'm not saying that that low ain't good, but I'm trying to warn people that if you're out of a commodity or if Bitcoin miners can't produce enough to make money, more than likely that high is in on Bitcoin, or corn, or orange juice, or gold or silver, right? When your supplies are tied up. Um, Now, I'm not saying it is or not, right? I mean, I don't know the fundamentals in silver or gold. My kind of logic says that we're still selling coins, so there's supply out there. Um, and we know that China's playing games with the market. They were trying to and they did a good job of cornering the silver market. Because they're a government, they can change their own rules. They basically you couldn't take deliveries unless you're in country and you're one of their favorites. Um, so again, they can do that with every product, right? The country can do that. The United States can do that. These countries can make their own rules, and it's part of the fundamentals then, right? So, all right, I know I kind of rambled there at the end, but it's so important, right, to understand where we're at. Here's the cattle. Again, kind of up here. Actually, December finally made a new high. Here's the old high. So the deferred months are making higher highs. The spot chart's making higher highs. Be careful being short cattle now. If you're a cattle producer, hedge for Christ's sakes, buy puts. Out of the money, just buy put a floor in. Don't be too cute with it. But you need to be hedged out a year as also if you can, right? Go out a year and kind of lock in a floor, even if you don't have the cattle yet. All right, here's Bitcoin, and you can see that this market is getting to the point where it's getting, the system's long with a stop here. Here's your swing pivot. We have a gap though, right, that we have to monkey with. So, and a trend line coming down, which I don't have in there yet, but you can see that this back rally took about 14 boxes. This back rally, there's, oh, that wasn't right. Hang on. This back rally took 8 boxes, and there is 8 boxes here. So kind of was a secondary event. Something's different on this chart, but that gap's still the negative presence. Um, so you can see December's highs are up there a long ways. Again, this market dropped 52%. As long, silver dropped 48%, right? Both of them dropped basically 50% on the same period. So a little weird. All right, I am done. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to sign off. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the nice weather if you're in it. Thank you.